fits the tier that you're coming out with the packaging, then you can get that price. If it doesn't, if you've got a crappy product, but you've got an incredible looking listing, you're just going to get a whack of 1 stars. Hey everyone, it's Norm Farrar, aka the Beard Guy here, and welcome to another Lunch with Norm, the e-commerce and Amazon FBA podcast. Yes, we're late. We had a bit of a storm outage here, but we are back. Today we're going to be discussing the Omnichannel advantage and trends in 2023. Does brand expand help with Omnichannel growth? What are the changes of Omnichannel space now versus several years ago? And by that, I mean pre-pandemic. And are there any other marketplaces that are worth discovering? So join us for another Lunch with Norm, the e-commerce and Amazon FBA podcast. Okay, like I said, the Omnichannel advantage and trends in 2023. Sounds like an interesting topic. And I don't think a lot of people are talking about it. But today, our guest is former financial consultant turned e-commerce entrepreneur. In 2015, he started his first online business with $1,000 and bootstrapped it in 5 years to exit for 7 figures plus. During this time, he created Brand Expand, a software helping e-commerce sellers increase sales and brand awareness across different marketplaces. My guest today, first-time guest, Seth Hurd. Can't wait to talk to him. But first, let's have a word from our sponsor. Are you struggling to keep up with your Amazon business? Do you need help from a skilled, reliable virtual assistant? Well, look no further than the Virtual Assistant Academy, or VAA Philippines. Founded by successful Amazon sellers who know the challenges of hiring quality VAs, VAA specializes in locating, screening, training, and supporting high-quality VAs in the Philippines. Their VAs receive extensive Amazon training and ongoing professional development and are committed to a long-term working relationship with you. Partner with VAA and experience the peace of mind knowing that you have a dedicated Amazon-trained VA who's up to date with the latest tools and trends in the dynamic Amazon marketplace. Head over to VAAphilippines.com and let VAA match you with your ideal VA. We have a very interesting guest. I got to meet him a couple of months ago. We had a great chat and wanted to get him onto the podcast ASAP. So sit back, relax. First of all, grab that cup of coffee. Enjoy the episode. Welcome, Seth.
Hey, how's it going, Norm?
Good.
Congrats on the followers, first and foremost.
Well, thank you. We're getting there. We got 100,000, so we're at 99,000 to go, but we'll get there.
Yeah, I remember when I was a third-party seller. Yeah, exactly. We'll try to get over that mark, right?
Exactly.
I remember when I was a third-party seller, it was like Norm the Beard was big in the, big influencer, and obviously still is. So I'm humbled to be on the show, and so thanks for having me.
No, it was great meeting. Now, was it Nick Penoff that introduced us, or how did we end up meeting?
I think it was Nick. Nick knows everybody.
He does. He is a networker, man. Anyways, we had a great chance to talk, and then I've been working with somebody within your company, but this is going to be very interesting. A lot of people, I think, people talk about influencer being the buzzword of 2023, but I think it's omnichannel. I think that's bigger than influencer. Back in the day, this is just one of my rabbit holes I'm going to go down to, Seth. Just put up with me. But back in the day, I remember talking to aggregators. And if you said that you were on another channel or if you sold somewhere else, they didn't care. They wanted one thing, and that was Amazon. Now, if you take a look at their business model, they're looking for omni-channel. And I think that's really important, and it's something that, the old days, that was one thing, and old days being just a few years ago. Right. But nowadays, you do have to diversify and make sure that you're either on Shopify or in some other marketplace or going retail, doing something to bring in other revenue streams. Well, would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. It was interesting. I saw I think it was podcast 420, which, by the way, you've already done over 400 podcasts, so that's amazing. Congrats on that. Providing all that value to third-party sellers, that's amazing. But it was interesting because the quote was, and I haven't listened to the whole podcast. I'm going to do it later this week, but it started off by you saying at some point this Amazon bubble is going to burst because they're constantly nickeling and diming third-party sellers, and I think this will open the floodgates for other marketplaces that are willing to deal with us. And that's really how, I wanted to start off the conversation is really on that note, because that's really what this is all about is everybody talks about, oh, third-party sellers now make up 60% of Amazon's revenue, but nobody talks about what is the profit of these sellers. And there's over 4 million Amazon sellers now versus 2 million a few years ago. But how many of those are active? How many of those are actually turning a profit, right? And so it's interesting if you read the Everything Store, Jeff Bezos' autobiography, he talks about customer centricity is really at the heart of their core values, and part of that, the big part, is the lowest possible price. And if you're a third-party seller, it's really counterintuitive to getting that lowest possible price, right? Because you have manufacturing, you have logistics, and all these other things that play into it. And so we see these profit margins on Amazon diminishing every year. And I saw something recently on LinkedIn. Somebody had posted that Amazon now takes on average over 50% of third-party.
That's right. Profit. Wall Street Journal wrote that. They broke that one. Yeah.
And that when I was, started in 2015, I mean, you could get 30% profit, maybe even closer to 40 if you were a bigger seller. And now it's, getting more than 10% profit is pretty good nowadays, which is crazy to think about. So yeah, I mean, I'm still really bullish on Amazon. I know it might sound like I'm bashing them, but it was where I started. I built my business on there. Obviously, they have the most customers, but like you said, we're starting to see a shift, and there's a lot of statistics that really point to these other marketplaces as a really big opportunity for either new sellers or larger sellers doing 7 to 9 figures to diversify to these other marketplaces.
If you do, I like talking about perception, perceived value.
Yeah.
And the people that are nickel and diming or causing product cannibalization, mostly the Chinese, but a lot of new sellers come on and they feel that's where they have to compete. Sorry, but they feel that that's where they have to compete. And that's not necessarily the case. If you've got a crappy brand and a crappy listing, you can go ahead and compete with the lowest price. But there's 3 tiers, and I talk about this a lot. 3 tiers, ways that you can come out. Either product cannibalization, where the average person is, and then this tier 1, the top of the tier, where you can make a lot more money just by investing a little bit of money, just a percentage, a fraction, into packaging and also your listing optimization. Now, this is good for Amazon, but it's also good for any marketplace that you go on to. If your product fits the tier that you're coming out with the packaging, then you can get that price. If it doesn't, if you've got a crappy product, but you've got an incredible looking listing, you're just going to get a whack of 1 stars. But it's got to match where you're coming out, 1st tier, 2nd tier, or 3rd tier. And that's something that we've been doing to combat all this nickel and diming that we're coming up with in Amazon. In fact, one of the brands that we represent is a knife company, and we've mentioned this a lot of the time, where we've taken this $49 product, repackaged it, and got it to sold for $97 to $124.
Mm-hmm.
And same product, different packaging. And now he's just come back and he said, is there a way that we could bring it up to $149? It's the same $16 cost. And it ranges. So Seth, it ranges between a $19 to up at maximum $44 1st tier. The 2nd tier is what was it? The 2nd tier, I'm going to miss this, I forget, but I know the 3rd tier was you could go from $90 up to like $250. It was no problem. Mm-hmm. But anyways, there was 3 tiers there, and he was in that bottom tier. And All we did is it was $3 extra in packaging. We got them to $124.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
and no drop in traffic.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I mean, I always would say, you know, perceived value is more, well, it's not more important, right? You have to have a really high quality product, but perceived value is what, you know, it's the equivalent of the shopper going into a store and seeing your product on the shelf, right? If you don't have a good listing, you don't have good packaging, and you don't have good perceived value, you're not going to get the sale, right? And of course,
Right.
it's important to have the quality, but yeah, having that branding, especially on Amazon, where it's ultra competitive, is more important than ever. So I agree with that.
So, and let's just stretch that out a bit. So more important than ever. So if you want to take that thought and bring it out, like what other types of platforms can you diversify to bring out your brand?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I get a lot of pushback for talking about Walmart, and that's fine. I've been bullish on Walmart for a while now, and just to preface this, you know, as entrepreneurs, we don't look at opportunities now. We look at opportunities in the future, right? And then we kind of grow into that. And Walmart has a lot of promising statistics, and I just wanted to go over a few of them. So if you look at the visitors per seller on Walmart versus Amazon, I'm not going to go down the statistics, but it's usually about 3 to 5 times more visitors on Walmart per seller, per third-party seller, than Amazon, right? So even though they have, you know, like 60% less traffic every month, it's like, I think it's like 140 million monthly unique visitors versus Amazon that has 230 million unique visitors. But there's only 150,000 sellers on Walmart. So, you know, so there's that opportunity there. The big piece of this, though, is that Walmart, such a small fraction of their sales come from e-commerce, right? And you're probably thinking, well, you're not really making a good argument as to why you should go on Walmart, but that's a huge opportunity, right? Because Amazon, you know, 99% of their sales are e-commerce. They have like physical stores now, I guess, but you know, 99% is e-commerce, whereas Walmart, it's 6%. And so what will happen over the next few years is this will shift, right? 10% of Walmart sales will be e-commerce, 20%. And keep in mind, Walmart on revenue and Amazon, the revenue is virtually the same. It was like 653 billion for Amazon and 620 billion for Walmart. So it's not like, you know, Walmart's really taking off in terms of revenue. They just are taking off in terms of e-commerce revenue. So as this starts to shift, right, you have 94% less sellers on Walmart. And as they start to push their e-commerce initiative, which they are doing heavily in the last, you know, 2-3 years, you're going to start to see that shift. And the annual growth rate of Walmart's e-commerce is going to be 2-3 times more than Amazon for the reasons I stated, right? And so if you're not positioned now to capitalize on that, you know, you're going to be late to the party. A lot of sellers say, oh, I wish I got on Amazon in 2012. Well, maybe, you know, you can get on Walmart in 2023. You know what I mean? And then a couple other points. There's 2 really huge arguments that I would make to getting on Walmart now. And the first is the review count, right? If you look at really ultra competitive products like Yoga Mat or, you know, garlic press is a good example, you're going to have 50,000, 70,000, 80,000 reviews on Amazon. How do you even compete with that if you don't have $100,000 to throw at a product?
Yeah.
Right. Walmart has, most of their top products have less than 100 reviews. And so you can get in now and establish yourself, get those reviews, get the social proof that's needed, create a really good listing. And then when you start to see this shift, you know, Walmart's e-commerce sales go from 6% to 10% to 20%, right? You start to capitalize on all of this, right? And then the second huge argument is just the sheer volume of stores that Walmart has, right? 4.7 thousand stores around the US and 3.5 thousand supercenters.
Yeah, it's I am very
Supercenters
big.
are going to slowly, can you hear me?
Yeah, you cut out for a second there.
Oh, okay. All right. Let me just back up really quick. But it's just, I know I'm going to go on a rant here, but I'm interested to hear your thoughts after this. But 3.5 thousand super centers. And I've been saying this for years, not to like pat myself on the back here, but they just came out recently with an exclusive from CNBC saying that they're converting those super centers into fulfillment centers. And you have 90% of Americans living within 10 miles of a Walmart, and they start to turn them into fulfillment centers. And they're using autonomous vehicles in Scottsdale, Arizona to deliver products. They're already using drones to deliver products under 10 pounds. Guess which, competitor is going to be positioned to deliver products in under 30 minutes, for example.
And they're number two. They're number two right now. They took over from eBay last year. But yes, Kelsey, you should let Matthew hear all this. We had Matthew Smith on my Mikhail Chapnik and I have a Walmart podcast called Ecom Power.
Oh, nice.
And he was on just last week talking about everything you were just talking about.
Oh,
and
nice.
Having those super centers, taking out a lot of the smaller stores that are in there and converting those so you can get your product delivered to you so quickly. But you want to talk omnichannel. What these guys did over at Walmart is when you had you went in there and you bought your product. Okay, you went in there and got groceries, and they are still the major player for groceries online, major player for groceries right now. So now they come out and they say, okay, well, why don't we do it where you can call in and you'll get your groceries or your product delivered to you in an hour. Okay,
and they stock them in your fridge. They'll stock it in your fridge too. It's crazy.
It's crazy. And then, well, if you want, if that doesn't satisfy you, well, let's just have it where you can order it like FBA, like just through Prime, but through our Seller Pro badge, and you can get it within 2 days. Okay, and that was called Project Glass when they brought that out. And this is where everything's coming together. They ended up buying Jet back in 2016 for $3 billion. Everybody was wondering why. Well, it was a sleeping giant. And I really think that you're going to see Amazon come out and explode over the next year or two, taking up a bunch more market share. But on that note, and I like what you said. If you're not in there, you'd rather be an innovator and get in there now than being a follower. And I was part of that big Amazon craze. Now, this is back in 2013 for me. I wish I would have been 2012. And I saw the difference that happened. And it's going to happen with Walmart. There's going to be a lot of ebbs and flows, just like there were with Amazon. But there are other platforms too. So right now we're thinking, okay, Walmart, the two big boys, Walmart and Amazon. But the other platforms that people don't think about, there's so many out there that could really wrap up your sales. Even if it's a couple points here, a couple points there, it all adds up. Do you want to get into some of those?
Yeah, definitely. And just let me know if I cut out at all, because it's kind of cutting it out. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great ones, right? Target. Let's talk about Target for a second. It is invite only, but that's kind of misleading because you fill out a form and then they go and they'll go over that and consider bringing you onto the platform. But if you're in the right categories, apparel, accessories, beauty, pets, baby, food, beverage, these home kind of categories, Target's a really good opportunity if you can get in there. There's only 10,000 sellers on Target, right?
Is that it?
Yeah, that's the stat that I brought up. There's 50 million products from more than 10,000 sellers. So there's, but there's 100 million active monthly users. So it's not that much less than Walmart. So it's still a huge opportunity for Target. And they had 273% growth compared to the same day previous year for same day services. So for curbside and same day services. So that is ramping up. And a large part of that growth is due to the bringing on third party sellers. And so, that's going to become a thing. And Target has a very loyal customer base, which is, I think, that one of the bigger arguments, with 90% of sales coming from repeat shoppers. You think of that target demographic for Target shoppers, right? And they love coming back. Target products are known to be higher quality. You have to be US based, right? And so, so there's a lot of opportunity there. If you can get on the platform, there's a lot of, I was looking at the form before I came on, and there's a lot of things you have to fill out to be considered. But if you can get on there and you're a large enough brand, that's just as big of a potential, I think, is Walmart.
Yeah. And there's another one that we went to head office and we had a meeting and it was fantastic. Steve Simonson set this up. Sorry, it wasn't head office, but this was in Washington, Seattle, Washington. And Steve was having his Empowery meeting. It was in Bellevue. Anyways, sorry, I'm getting my cities mixed up, but it was in Bellevue. Anyways, he created, we were able to get into eBay. And so when we were talking to the eBay guy, so the business development guy was there, and another person that was in charge with growth was there. And they said, okay, how many people have used eBay? Everybody put up their hand. How many people sold on eBay? How many people are still selling on eBay? And about 85% just put their hands down. And, and this is their words. They said, we know, you're thinking it's a crap platform, it's discounts. He says, but we're trying to change that. And he went through all the changes that eBay is doing right now to be more brand specific, like brand pages. And so right at that time, I had a customer who was having problems on Amazon with 3 beauty products. Every time we put them up, they'd bring them down. Put them up, they'd bring them down. So we went over to eBay and we put these 3 products on eBay. We got $150,000 in sales a month on 3 products. Now, that in my eyes, that's a home run for eBay. That's not your average. But if you go and take a look at the what they're doing for sellers and being able to ship internationally for sellers, which is awesome, they're doing a really great job, and they're not given enough credit for what they're doing. Now, I've tried to reach out. My 2 contacts over there left. They were awesome. And now try to get one person from eBay to give me a comment. Nothing. I want to support them, but they're not supporting the seller community again.
Hopefully they're listening to this and they reach out.
I hope. But anyways, have you tried eBay or?
Yeah, I've sold on eBay before.
The crap version or the new version?
Probably the crap version.
Okay, all right.
But here's the thing though, I sold health and wellness products like consumables, and I compare eBay to a giant garage sale, which I know they're trying to shift away from that.
Yep.
But I think that's going to be their biggest challenge, right? And so for me, it's like, I'm not going to go buy, a flaxseed oil supplement at a garage sale, so we just didn't have that many sales. But again, that was probably the crap version of eBay back before 2020. But it's interesting that they're trying to shift that dynamic. I think, again, the challenge is going to be, it's usually rare, collectible, high demand items that can be bid on. And you don't see that on traditional marketplaces,
Yeah.
And so with that bidding system comes products that, again, you might, negotiate for it like a garage sale. So it's hard to bring branded products. And maybe they're trying to get rid of the bidding system. I don't know. But I think that's going to be their biggest challenge. But it's still a huge opportunity. We were approached recently by a company that works with tens of thousands of eBay sellers that do a lot of volume. And so there's definitely potential on there if your products make sense. Like, in your example, doing $150,000 a month on 3 products, it's incredible.
Yeah. And one of the other things, like one of our other services, a lot of the listeners know this, that I do a lot of in retail, and people don't consider retailers for online sales, but most of these retailers have an online presence. Like, just for example, a Costco, an Neiman Marcus, there's all these different stores that have the ability to go online. And I think a lot of shoppers or a lot of listeners forget that they're out there and they put them off to the side. Again, just another story about a failed product on Amazon. Could not sell, could not figure out why this really beautiful home decor product couldn't sell on Amazon, was getting nothing, went over to Wayfair and killed it. Wayfair was just like the perfect platform for this product. But again, it's just a different platform that a lot of people don't think about.
Yeah. I mean, what I think is going to happen, what the shift that I'm seeing is you're starting to go to these different marketplaces for different needs, right? Like I just got a new condo and I furnished it all from Wayfair primarily, right? And if I'm, getting other home products, I'll probably go to Target because I know the quality is going to be higher and they're selective over who they let onto the platform. If I'm getting a gift for somebody, I rarely go to Walmart or Amazon for gifts because I don't know if you've searched for like anniversary gift for my wife or something, but the products that come up are just like, I would never get, like some weird coffee mug from some Chinese seller. It's terrible. So I'm going to Etsy for all my gifts and creating something more personalized that, somebody's actually going to appreciate. Right. So, and then when I want to get normal, shampoo, conditioner type things, I'm going to go to either Walmart or Amazon or whatever. So it really just depends again on your category. Like you said, product that a home and goods product that doesn't sell on Amazon, it keeps getting taken down, take it over to Wayfair, see if it blows up,
So if I understand what you're saying, it really does come down to understanding your own demographic, your own audience. Right. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
Yeah.
And if we, want to go down the Etsy rabbit hole here for a second, Etsy's has just blown up. They had 600 million sales revenue in 2018, 2.3 billion in 21. So 380% growth in just a few short years. And like, I really think it's due to a couple different things. Obviously, like I talked about getting really handmade vintage craft items from there and gifts for people, but also there's this huge push for print on demand that I'm seeing. One of my buddies owns a print on demand jewelry company that has just exploded over these recent years.
Shine on.
There it is. Yeah. Yeah. He's my buddy here in St. Pete, Eric. Shout out to Eric Dawes. But it's a super amazing company. But the benefit of this is you can get print on demand, drop ship to your customers. You don't own inventory. You don't have to worry about 3PL and logistics. The advantages are tremendous. And so I guess, talking about the omnichannel conversation, if I'm a new seller and I don't have a lot of upfront capital to invest in inventory, look at print on demand. They're starting to do, there's a couple different print on demand items like perfumes and, used to just be T-shirts that were properly print on demand. Now it's going over to a lot of different items as well. So it's a huge opportunity there. To take advantage of that trend.
I went on the online seller cruise, Carlo Alvarez's online seller cruise, and a lot of the people that were on there were print on demand people. And one of the co-founders, that's what he does, and he makes a great living off of it. Print on demand. We've got to go over to a sponsor, but when we get back, just want to talk about Etsy for a second. Anyways, we're going. It's the bottom of the hour. We just want to get anybody who's interested in hashtag Wheel of Kelsey today. There is that giveaway. It's a great giveaway. I'm going to get Seth to talk about it in a second. But if you tag 2 people, you'll get a second entry. So Wheel of Kelsey, just hold on until the end of the podcast. We'll be doing a giveaway. And Seth, why don't you tell us a little bit about the giveaway today?
Yeah, so we'll be giving away a free brand expander membership for 1 month to come and test out our platform. So Brand Expand is an omni-channel growth platform, which is a little misleading because we help sellers that are on one marketplace or multiple. We help sellers drive traffic to their product listing. So you can use our service to import products and then create a couple different campaign types that we allow and drive traffic, help with the growth, and really expedite the entire sales flywheel is what we help with at Brand Expand. So we'll be giving away a free Brand Expander. It's $400 value to one of these listeners. So go tag some people to get.
All right, get tagging. And I already see Howard has. Rad, you got to start tagging. So, anyways, if you are interested in this great giveaway and trying Brand Expander for a free month, it's a $400 value. Hashtag Wheel of Kelsey. There is also, Kelsey's going to be putting it in, but Seth is also providing a second. This is for everybody who's listening. What's that about, Seth?
Yeah, so we have a promotional code. We'll have 20% off all of our subscriptions for anybody that hears about us on this podcast. So I believe it's NormBX20 is what the promo code is.
That makes sense. Norm Brand Expand 20. All right. So, Kelsey, while we're getting all the entries in, can you hit the button for the sponsor? I want to thank Jeff Schick Legal for sponsoring this episode of Lunch with Norm. You've probably heard on the podcast about Amazon suspensions. They're very real. It can happen at any time. And when it does happen, how do you get out of it? How does the little guy like you and me get out of these suspensions without paying an arm and a leg in legal fees? This is where Jeff Schick Legal is here to help. For a very low monthly retainer, for only $89, get access to Amazon attorney Jeff Schick. That's right. You can sit back, relax, enjoy that cup of coffee while listening to the Lunch with Norm podcast, knowing that you have an advocate and a partner in your business success. But wait, just mention Lunch with Norm and receive 50% off the first 2 months. Get the protection you need and visit jeffschick.com today. That's JEFFSCHICK.com. Now let's get back to the show. And let's get back to Etsy. So with Etsy, so we have a brand, we have a couple of brands that sell on Amazon. And actually, one of the brands uses Eric's business Shine On. It's a jewelry print on demand. And what we were finding is that the brand, if you take a look at the brand and the brand story, it's fine for jewelry, but it's very visual. And so we thought, oh, okay, why don't we take the brand, which is completely the brand, okay, let's just say it's soap. And the product we're selling is soap. Okay, not jewelry. This is the other one. Yet on print on demand on Etsy, it's very visual. So now t-shirts are selling, hats are selling, coffee mugs are selling, and Etsy has bigger sales than the brand, the soap brand itself, because we've merchandised it over the brand. And we made that, what we've done is at the very beginning, we made sure that that's what we wanted to do. With the other version, with the jewelry, we just thought, oh, wow, maybe we can take these characters and maybe we can take these sayings and keep the high level jewelry there, but also start merchandising on Etsy. And we're just exploring that right now. But Etsy is so great just to get the word out, to merchandise your brand.
For sure.
Yeah, it's great. It's a really great option.
Yeah, we piloted his product using our service, and it was super successful because, again, you don't have to have inventory, and we're actually partnering with them and talking with a few of their sellers. But you don't have to have inventory. Your profit margins are like 30 to 50%. It's crazy. Yeah. And you don't have inventory. Like you don't have inventory. You have 30, 50% profit margins. So if you think about, there's not a lot of Etsy sellers that are doing over 7 figures. I don't know what the exact number is, but let's assume you're a 7-figure seller. You're doing $1 million a year. You're making 300 to 500,000 in profit. Like, what do you have to sell on Amazon to make those types of margins? It's so it's still a huge opportunity. Yeah, and you can take that money and reinvest. And the good thing about print on demand, and what I was looking for is cosmetics, jewelry, health, personal care, beauty. Those are the categories that it's starting to expand into. Again, the major benefit is you can focus on marketing, you can focus on branding, you can focus on other things without having to worry about inventory or lead times or, I got to order 60 days, really like several months right ahead of time and that whole nightmare. So So yeah, it's a huge opportunity. I think it's going to really be the next big trend. And I think it's why Etsy, part of their explosive growth is due to this, because yes, their platform is for, craft items. And they say handmade. It's not really, it doesn't need to be handmade. Like there doesn't need to be somebody sitting there like weaving something, and this print on demand, you're able to quickly create customized items and have it shipped, within 2 to 5 days to the customer. So
Yeah, yeah. And some of the other common retailers that are e-tailers that you don't really think about, and it's fairly easy to get on, like a Costco. And not to get into the store, but to get online. Um, Costco is easy. And the other one, so let's say you want to sell more in bulk, but you're going to lose a little bit of margin, is if you want to go to a company like Farrar. Farrar, I find that they're an excellent company as well, and that's more for the wholesale market. But man, you can move some product. Like if you're looking for wholesale, or if you're looking like for retail, right? If you want to get into these retailers and you want to move product, I did actually, when I was on that online sellers cruise, I picked up 5 POs the day before we went on the ship, and 2 were from Neiman Marcus, and they range from mid 150 some odds to 279,000. There was a test market one for TJ Maxx, I think, for 16,000. And anyways, there was a Tractor Supply Company was another one, but they're larger orders. And what they'll do is they'll do a test market, then they'll spread it out to the region, and then they'll spread it out further and further and further, to whatever they want. But if you're looking for wholesale and moving product, that's a way to do it. And you can approach these people online, and you don't have to, this can be all done online. Matter of fact, 99.9% of all our retail business is done reaching out to the buyers online. Mm-hmm. So that's just another way. There's another omnichannel, version. Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, next question. What's the difference between omnichannel space now and pre-pandemic?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, well, obviously the obvious answer is just e-commerce just exploded. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, I think the moral of the story is a lot of consumers are making that shift. You still have some laggers. A lot of, for example, the demographic that shops at Walmart, maybe lower socioeconomic demographic doesn't do as much online. But this is all shifting, and it's shifting very, very quickly with the emergence of the pandemic. It kind of forced, like similar to remote work, it just forced the inevitable, which is e-commerce. And so there's so many opportunities out there. I think the moral of the story is if you're selling on Amazon or maybe one channel and you're not getting the results that you want, there's so many other ways and opportunities to test and to see if maybe your products can get more traction, or maybe you have better profit margins somewhere else, right? So,
yeah, the ability, or when we see all this growth in e-commerce, for me at least, the biggest difference was, first of all, my parents go online and buy product now. You think I'm old. but pre-pandemic, my dad, sorry dad if you're listening, but he didn't know how to turn on a cell phone. Now everybody is searching it. Perfect timing for Walmart, because everybody's looking for other marketplaces and niche marketplaces. Mm-hmm. So so maybe I went on Amazon to buy my pet product, but now there's Chewy, and there's all these pet stores that are out there that are online, but maybe there's even an independent. So paw.com, for example, mm-hmm. They've got a bunch of just premium quality pet products. Okay, well, maybe I'm going to go there. And the
Right.
trust in the is growing and growing and growing because the brands are getting better and better and better. But those are the differences that I saw, within pre-pandemic and now post-pandemic.
Yeah, with Shopify, I saw a study recently that was 58% of consumers said they prefer to buy from an independent online store, right? And so Shopify is investing heavily in their 3PL and their fulfillment centers. So imagine when you can go to a store, and you can do this nowadays, right? You can get from an independent online store, you can get items in 1 to 2 days. And so I think a lot of consumers are also going to shift to doing more independent stores. I know I buy a lot more now from independent sellers, and I'll see some really cool item on a really cool, store on Shopify, and I'll go for that because I know that it supports that business. They're going to get a lot more profit from that. And another advantage of Shopify is the retention. There's 67% retention for customers on Shopify, right? So you can reach out to them, build up an email list, do hyper-focused lookalike audiences, right? And it just gives you a lot more control. And so it's really mutually beneficial for everyone. And again, Shopify is investing heavily in a lot of things to support their sellers, and that's going to continue growing as well. So yeah, everybody should have a Shopify store. How much do you want to invest in that? Obviously, there's a lot of upfront investment to get a return, but there's definitely a lot of potential there.
And there's some apps now that are supporting, like for apparel. There's a lot of returns that going back and forth for apparel, but there's apps out there, and I sent it over to Kelsey. One that amazed me the other day, and I forget what it is. Maybe he can see the Skype message I sent him, but there's one that you take 2 pictures of yourself, straightforward and to the side, and it fits you perfectly. So
that, yeah.
Isn't that great? And you can build that into your Shopify site. So when people go to the store, they can take 2 pictures of themselves and they know your sizing instead of going through all these sizing charts and taking guesses. Well, first of all, that's a much better customer experience for the customer, but it cuts down just a ton for these. I felt so sorry for these apparel sellers, like over the holidays. Well, let's just, get all this product, and then, it all comes back because it doesn't fit properly.
I can't even imagine. Yeah.
I
don't want to see that fulfillment center after the holidays.
Yeah, exactly. So, Kels, I see that there's a bunch of questions that are coming in. And do we want to start with? Oh, you got the name of that, right?
Yeah, it's right here. It's 3D Look. Check it out. And yes, we have a bunch of questions that are coming. We also got lots of comments too. So let me just read out some of the comments first, and then we'll get into those questions. The first one is from Howard. Just an opinion, but perhaps Walmart would have been smarter keeping the Jet brand as its e-commerce arm. Walmart still has a downscale perception among many consumers. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I had no idea why they bought it and just sat on it. Now I do. But here's something that we got directly from Walmart. My thought was it would be more of a discount consumer that went into Walmart. And I had a major a battle going back and forth in one of our groups, trying to produce this information. And this is from Walmart, showing that the average consumer going and buying from Walmart is right in the middle. It's not lower. It is middle income people that are shopping at Walmart. That's their demographic. And people were shocked by it, but we were able to pull out the reports showing that this is the demographic. So it's kind of interesting. So I don't know, Howard, if it would have been better for them to keep Jet separate. All I know is the Omnichannel, or the this new version of Omnichannel, this Project Glass that they brought out, works perfectly, and it's all interwoven to work perfectly. So I like what they're doing. It could have worked, just as Jet. Any thought on that, Seth?
So Jet was founded by a former Amazon associate, right?
I'm not sure.
I think, I mean, somebody can fact check me on that, but I'm pretty sure it was. And so, like, in my opinion, they bought the technology, they used that technology to insert into their e-commerce and learn from it, and then ended up discontinuing it. So that's what I think happened, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah. And don't forget, when we talk about Walmart, we forget that in India, they bought Flipkart. That's a huge e-tailer as well. So anyways, yep, that's the thoughts on that.
All right. From Tony, I'm finding Walmart has lower price points and not really geared towards premium products. Amazon might end up that way too.
Yeah.
Let me see. We got another one.
It comes back to, Tony, I think it comes back to that perception. With Walmart, there is one downfall, but it's good for people who work with Walmart Connect, and that is when you go to the search results, the best image works just like it does with Amazon, but you better have, because all of your competitors are one click away from a purchase, and that's different from Amazon. So your sponsors, you have the ad carousel that has, I think it's 10. Anyways, they can click on it and it's a one-click purchase. So yeah, you have to have a really good listing.
Okay, and then Luke is saying, I look Etsy. I actually got some sales there with literally no effort put in too.
Yep.
Okay, so let's get into the questions. From Spencer, how do you store and ship inventory to your customers when selling off Amazon?
Do you want to take that, Seth, or do you want me?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends. I don't know for sure all the different options for 3PL if you're selling off Amazon. But again, I know that Shopify is investing heavily in third-party logistics, and there's a lot of companies that are emerging that create a network of different warehouses, for example, and they'll rent out space to do storage. And so how specifically do you ship inventory to customers selling off Amazon? I don't know if there's any specific answer for that, but I know that there's a lot of options out there.
Yeah. So if you are a company that is working with a different channel and you're not using their fulfillment service, just make sure you are working that they're just not a warehouse. I think that's, oh, did I just cut out? Anyways, I think that's really important. Afalabi over at Honu, so complete transparency, that's our fulfillment center. He's put out a presentation on the questions that you should ask a 3PL before you start working with them. So anyways, that should help you out.
Okay, let's see. Next one, big one from Rad. After submitting all the requirements for the past 6 months, one of our products was delisted on Amazon. We recently sold most of our stocks at our trade show for discounted prices. We saw one customer purchase a product after checking the price on Amazon on their phones and commented that we are cheaper than Amazon. We took more profit than giving to Amazon. Long live trade shows.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. It's another opportunity right there.
So Rad, DM me after this, okay? I know all your products. I'd like to know which one that was, because you've got some awesome products, and I'd just be curious.
Okay, so the next one is from Spencer. What's the name of the site Norm was talking about? I think you were saying Farrar.
I put it under there. It's Farrar.
Oh, okay, you did. Okay. From Tony. Last question. How should sellers handle the issue of prepaid returns and increasing cost of shipping?
Well, I don't know if you have anything to say about that, but that's all got to be built in to your profit margin.
Yeah, I mean, going full circle with what Norm was talking about, focusing on packaging, your perceived value, right? And focusing a lot on the branding and packaging is really going to make you increase the price, and that should open up some margin there. That's what I would say.
Yeah. So that's right off the bat. If I was planning this out, so if I was creating a business model or creating a business plan, which I hope people do. But you have to take that into consideration and make it very easy for people to return it, because what you don't want is a frustrated customer, and then a frustrated customer turns into a really bad review. But if you know that there's going to be some people out there, and by the way, make sure that you take all things into consideration. So let's say it's holiday time and somebody just wants a dress to wear and then they return it. Keep that in consideration. I know I was working with these really high quality leg extension rests, and they were great. They sold a ton, but all of a sudden, within the 30 days, people were returning them, not because they were bad, because their injuries were over. And so the rate was so high that, just something that was not taken into consideration. So you have to really think about this and make sure that you do plan for it, because if it is 1%, which is average, or more, you have to really you have to make sure that now that, let's say it's 10%, is not 9%. It makes a huge difference to your bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, that's it for questions. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's talk a little bit about Brand Expand. So what is it?
Yeah, so I was a third-party seller for many years, mostly on Amazon, from 2015 to 2021. Back in 2018, I was trying to find an effective solution for product launching, and I used a lot of different solutions and couldn't find one that was really good, right? They either weren't transparent enough, or there's a few that they weren't even sellers that had created the service. They were more on the buyer side. And so I was, kind of got fed up. And back then I was doing e-com consulting. So consulting for, a lot of Amazon sellers. And the majority of them are like, listen, I just want to know how to launch products effectively. And so that transitioned into Brand Expand. So we started building the technology back in 2018, late 2018, spent a few years building it. And then last year, December, we launched the platform. And so we've had over a year now. We did over 2,000 launches last year, and we're slated to do over 3,000 this year based on Q1 results. So what we do is sellers can come in and set up their products. We auto import from Amazon, Target, Walmart, eBay, Etsy. You just come in there, you put in the product ID, click import, brings it in, and you can do other channels as well. You can literally do, Chewy.com, Wayfair, we talked about, any other channel you're on, you can create a listing. And then from that listing, you can create a product launch. We have two different launch types. We have the organic launch, which sellers specify an ACoS discount that they're comfortable with. And then we drive external traffic that way. And then we have a promotional launch, and that uses a combination of coupons, promotional codes to advertise your products to the buyer network and get traction that way. And so, of course, the result of this is more traffic, more sales, really helps expedite the sales flywheel and get your products in front of more organic shoppers so that you can, shorten that time horizon that it takes to launch a new product. Typically it could take 6 months if you just organically put a product out there and then maybe leverage one method of marketing, whereas this really helps you expedite that process.
Okay, very good. All right, so how do people get a hold of your company, or where should they go if they're interested?
Yeah, if you go to the brandexpand.io, there's a couple ways to get a hold of us. We have a chat feature that you can click on, or you can there's a way to schedule a demo up there. If you want to reach out to me directly, Seth at brandexpand.io is my direct. I'm willing to put that out there. Or success at Brand Expand, or sales at Brand Expand. You can use any of those emails and reach out to us. Mention you're coming from Norm, Lunch with Norm. We'll give you 20% off subscription.
Fantastic. Okay, so let's go to our last sponsor, then we'll head over to the Wheel of Kelsey. If you're just tuned in, it's hashtag Wheel of Kelsey. Tag 2 people, and you'll be entered again for our giveaway today. I want to give a quick shout out to an incredible group of sponsors to help keep this podcast running. The Lunch with Norm podcast would not be possible without the support of the following sponsors: Post Purchase Pro, Clear Ads, Jeff Schick Law, Rebate.com, Honu Worldwide, Digital Blacksmiths, Netfluence, Extreme Power, and Startup Club. Now back to the show. We're back. Kelsey.
All right, so it's time for the Wheel of Kelsey. We'll head on over there now.
It's time for the Wheel of Kelsey.
All right, thank you everyone who entered today's Wheel of Kelsey. We're going to shuffle these up and see who today's winner is. If you're new to the podcast, we do this every episode, so make sure you come back Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Looks like Rad is today's winner.
He's been lucky this month.
All right, congratulations, Rad. Just email me, k@lunchwithnorm.com, and we'll get you your prize.
Okay, so Seth, thanks for coming on. You're off the hook.
Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Again, keep up the great work, providing value to the seller community. I love your podcast. I just started listening to a couple episodes, and so thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Seth. All right, everybody. So I hope you enjoyed today's show. A little bit different, talking to you about different channels, the Omni channel, different revenue streams. So check it out. Make sure that you look into this. Why not? That's the big question. Why not? Anyways, that's it for me. Can I bring in the mayor of Blunderville? There we go.
Right. So yes, thank you everyone for watching today's episode. If you have questions, comments, you can go over to our Facebook page or Facebook group. That's Lunch with Norm, Amazon FBA, and eCommerce Collective. And Marsha looks like she just missed us. Sorry, Marsha. You can always watch the replay on YouTube, though. That will be up in about a week. And thanks again, everyone, for watching today's episode. And make sure you smash those like buttons. You can check us out on all podcast platforms, so Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Give us a review, rating, and I think that's it.
Okay. So once again, thank you for watching, and join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon Eastern Standard Time, Marsha. And that's it. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'd just like to say one last thing. I say it every podcast. We could not do this without our great community. If you're not part of the Facebook group, please go over to Lunch with Norm, the Amazon and FBA, the eCommerce and Amazon FBA Collective. All right, we will see you on, is it already Wednesday? We'll see you on Friday. Want more great information? Don't forget to subscribe by clicking here. Also, if you want to check out our latest podcasts, click over here.
Lunch with Norm.